From the very first second of that cloudy morning, there was something different in the air, a weight that no one could explain, but that Clara felt even before opening her eyes. The wind beat insistently against the window, as if trying to warn her of something. On the clock, the hands seemed to drag the seconds, and the silence of the house only increased the feeling that something was about to change. Clara woke slowly, breathing deeply, with that strange feeling one gets when destiny is about to turn a corner. She walked down the hallway lit only by the faint light of dawn, and on the table saw an old yellowed envelope with her name handwritten on it. The handwriting was so familiar that it made her heart stop for a moment. It was her mother's handwriting, the same handwriting she hadn't seen since the funeral, 4 months earlier. The same handwriting that carried memories Clara hadn't yet been able to confront. She approached slowly, her hands trembling, feeling the weight of years of silence, of secrets that always seemed to float in the house, hidden behind averted glances and interrupted sentences. In that envelope, there was something that shouldn't have reached her, something her mother, for some reason, had chosen to hide. And now, for the first time, Clara had the courage to discover what was hidden inside. She held the envelope with both hands as if she were carrying something alive, something that could bite if opened too quickly. The paper's texture was rough, worn by time, as if it had been handled many times before being delivered. Part of the glue was no longer holding, and there were fingerprints as if someone had hesitated before sealing it. Clara swallowed hard, feeling her throat tighten. Her mother had been a reserved woman her whole life, almost inaccessible when it came to her own past. She always avoided questions, changed the subject, made excuses not to talk about her youth, her distant family, the stories she never told. Now in that envelope, Clara had the impression that all the answers were there, but also something she might not be prepared to face. She took a deep breath, pulled up a chair, and sat down, still looking at the envelope as if it were both the key and the door. The silence of the house seemed to observe everything, waiting for the moment she would find the courage. With slow movements, Clara broke the seal and pulled out a sheet folded in 3 parts, filled with firm handwriting, but already a little shaky. And even before reading it, she knew. That letter was not a farewell, it was a confession. The first lines were gentle, almost affectionate, as if her mother were trying to prepare Clara for what was to come. "If you are reading this, my daughter, it is because time has finally won over me." The sentence made Clara's eyes fill with tears, but she continued reading, determined. The letter spoke of difficult choices, of mistakes made in her youth, of a secret that her mother had carried for almost half a century, a secret that she never had the courage to reveal in life, for fear of destroying everything she had built. "I promise you I didn't do this out of malice," one passage said. "I did it to protect you, even before you existed." From there the tone changed, as if her mother were immersed in memories that hurt even on paper. She wrote about the year she turned 18, about a man named Daniel, with whom she fell deeply in love, a quick, intense, forbidden love. The letter described hidden nights, impossible plans, whispered vows that seemed eternal. But there was something more, something that made Clara stop reading for a moment and take a deep breath so as not to lose control. Her mother was pregnant before meeting Clara's father, something that no one, absolutely no one in the family ever imagined. The letter continued, saying that Daniel had mysteriously disappeared a month before the arranged marriage his family demanded. He vanished without a trace, without explanation, and, along with him, disappeared the only person who knew the truth, a trusted friend named Teresa, who had helped hide the pregnancy and then disappeared on the same day Daniel vanished. The mother described the anguish of those months, the family pressure, the fear of being kicked out of the house. She recounted how, after fainting at a fair, she was taken to the hospital and discovered that the baby hadn't survived. But there was something strange about the way the mother wrote about it. Clara sensed, from the choice of words, that this wasn't the whole truth, and the letter itself confirmed this a few lines later. "Clara, I need you to know, nothing they told me at that hospital made sense. They wouldn't let me see the baby. They wouldn't let me touch him. They wouldn't even let me say goodbye. I only received a piece of paper in an order to continue my life as if nothing had happened." Clara's heart pounded so hard it ached. The mother concluded the passage by saying that she had always suspected someone had lied to her. I always thought that baby might not have died, but she never had proof until she found a document hidden behind an old piece of furniture, 5 years before she died, a document she didn't have the courage to show anyone. Clara's eyes widened as she read about the document. The mother said she had found an incomplete record, indicating that a newborn male with compatible characteristics had been taken for adoption in a small town 300 kilometers away. There were no parents' names, only dates, and the date coincided exactly with the day her mother believed she had lost the baby. The text then changed to something even more impactful. Clara, maybe you'll never believe this. Maybe nobody will. But I need you to know, I searched. I spent years searching. And when I finally found something concrete, it was too late for me to go after it myself. The man who gave me this information died a few days later, and no one else had access to the files. But the address he gave me still exists, and I left it for you on the back of this letter. Only do this if you really want to know who you are. Clara turned the paper over, her hands trembling. On the back there was a handwritten address, almost faded, a place she had never heard of. The feeling that the ground was disappearing beneath her feet came with force. Her head spun as thoughts crashed like uncontrolled waves. Her mother had a son before her, a son who might be alive, a son that no one in the family knew existed, a son who, if he were alive, would be her brother. The idea seemed impossible, absurd, improbable. And yet there it was, written by the most reserved woman Clara had ever known. The text also said that her mother tried to gather more information, but that each door closed, each paper disappeared, each clue vanished as if someone were erasing the past. Believe what your heart tells you, she wrote, but don't let this secret die with me. Clara remained motionless for several minutes. She just stared at the letter, feeling her breathing heavy and her heart racing. Part of her said that all of this was too much of a story to be true. Another part said that her mother would never write something like that if she wasn't sure. When she finally managed to get up, Clara felt her legs trembling so much that she had to put her hand on the table. She picked up the envelope, put away the folded letter, and left the house as if she were dreaming. The cold air hit her face, trying to wake her from that confusion. But nothing changed. The address written on the back still existed. The secret was still there, and she needed to find out. She got into the car with a heavy heart and started driving toward the mentioned city. The road was long, surrounded by trees that seemed to bend with the strong wind. The sky was darkening even though it was still early, leaving the road with an almost old movie atmosphere, melancholic and heavy. Each kilometer seemed to pull Clara closer to the truth, or closer to something that perhaps would have been better left undiscovered. But she kept going. After hours of travel, Clara arrived in a small town, with narrow streets and old houses that seemed to have stopped in time. The address led her to a simple house with a faded blue door and a garden covered in dry leaves. The place had a strange, almost uncomfortable silence, as if it held too many stories. She took a deep breath and knocked on the door. A minute passed. 2. She almost gave up when she saw the doorknob move. An elderly woman slowly opened it. Her eyes, deep and tired, stopped on Clara as if recognizing something. And before Clara could even say a word, the woman swallowed hard and said, "You are Helena's daughter?" The name made Clara freeze. Helena was her mother's name. The woman took a step back and invited Clara inside. Inside, the house looked like a museum of lost memories. Old paintings covered the walls with black and white photos of people Clara had never seen. In one of the photos, a man smiled next to the elderly woman, and the man looked incredibly like Clara's mother when she was young. The eyes, the chin, the shape of the face. It was like seeing a male version of her mother. The elderly woman noticed Clara's reaction and began to tell the story she had kept for decades. He recounted that Clara's mother had indeed been pregnant with a boy named Daniel. He said that Daniel was his nephew who had mysteriously disappeared around the same time. He said there had been many suspicions, many hushed conversations, many rumors in the city, but nothing concrete. And then he revealed what Clara least expected to hear. There had been a baby. He was born healthy. But someone took him from his mother without her ever knowing. Clara's hands trembled so much that she had to hold them in her lap. The old woman continued, saying that at the time, there was an influential doctor in the city who conducted illegal adoptions. Babies were taken from young mothers who were not able to raise them. The same doctor disappeared a few years later, and no one ever found his files again. Your brother was taken, she said in a weak voice. Taken somewhere that I still don't know. The silence was crushing. Clara felt her heart ache in a way she had never felt before. It was as if her entire life had been built on an incomplete story, on a lie, on missing pieces. After hours of conversation, the old woman handed Clara something, a faded photo of a baby wrapped in a blue cloth. It's the only thing left from that day. Clara held the photo to her chest as if it were something alive, as if it were something that had always belonged to her. On the way back, the sun was already setting when Clara decided to stop at an old cemetery, one of those that seemed to carry more stories than tombstones. She walked among the trees and stopped before her mother's grave, whose photograph still seemed recent. The wind swayed the dried flowers left there. Clara placed the letter on the marble and whispered, her voice choked with emotion, that she understood everything, that now she knew what her mother had tried to do, that now she knew the weight of the secret, and for the first time, she felt that her mother's silence wasn't coldness, it was pain. A pain so great that she tried to carry it alone so as not to hurt anyone. But the truth, even when kept hidden, always finds a way out. And that late afternoon, as the sky turned orange and purple, Clara realized that her mother's story didn't end there. That letter wasn't just a revelation. It was a call, an invitation to keep searching, to rebuild what was stolen, to find the brother who could be anywhere. The truth, after all, isn't the end of the story. It's only the beginning.